guys, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to do, it's not a review, it's like a first impressions of the Planta app. I've not seen many reviews of this. I do see people asking on Facebook group for recommendations for apps to help you look after your plants. And people are very strongly divided on these, as I was, but I've kind of changed my mind. So a lot of people say, yeah, use Planta. There's one called Vera. There's other ones. I'll try those in the future. A lot of people say, oh yeah, use those, swear by them, brilliant. Other people say you cannot use an app to tell you when to water your plants because so many different factors. This is all true. So many different factors influence how quickly soil dries out and that kind of thing that an app can't know. There's too many variables and your app simply can't know. So Planta does link to a weather app, but even weather apps aren't always accurate. So there's just no way for them to know. It's not a fault with the app, it's a fault with the way the world works. It just can't know unless you actually have somebody come into your house and check, or like a drone or something. Well, that comes with a whole other host of issues. But I thought I would try the Planta app Planta, because why not? And I tried the free version. I'm not that sold on the free version, to be honest. If you just want watering reminders, fine. But bear in mind that I think they want you to water far too often. So I certainly wouldn't recommend the free app for beginners, which is kind of who it's aimed at. I would stay away from it unless you kind of know what you're doing. So I thought I would try the paid app. It's not expensive. I think it's like $7.95 a month. But then if you buy a year, I think was it $32.99 for the year, and it works out like £2 something, $2.75 or something a month. So I thought I'd try that because I have a tendency to try things and then not really try them properly. So I thought, try it for a year. You've paid for it, try it, and then that can actually. It's not like I can write an article about it. I can talk on YouTube about it. So it's worth it for me, and then I can tell other people if I think it's worth it for them, and whether or not, importantly, I actually stick to it. Because if I wasn't, basically I would probably only have bought a month's worth if I didn't want to stick to it for a year. So that made no sense. But so in the free app, basically you only get watering reminders, that's about it. And then with the paid app, you get this is only a very small, because I've only just started using it. So this is just like an initial thoughts. And then there's like fertilizer reminders, misting, cleaning your plants. And that's the kind of thing that I'm really interested in. This is why I think it should be used more for people who actually know how to take care of the plants. They just forget to do it, as opposed to somebody that doesn't know, because I worry that they would end up over-fertilizing, overwatering, and generally just being overwhelmed. I already am overwhelmed. I believe that if I had a little list of tasks to just follow and tick off, that would probably be easier. So at first I was like, I really didn't like the app, because when I had the free one, it told me to water them, and I was like, I don't need to water it, the soil is still wet. But actually when I checked, there is a little button you can press where it says remind me in tomorrow or in 2 days or something like that. At first I was like, oh, maybe it'll learn from it, but actually no, because sometimes your plants need watering more often. So it's limited, and it always will be, the watering reminders. But I do like being reminded that the plant exists. So I do quite like that. Another flaw that is with the free version is you basically have the name of the plant and the light that it's in, the room that it's in. But with the paid one, you can put in the pot size, the size of the plant, the soil type that it's in, whether it's in leca. I don't think there's flushing reminders. I don't know how clued up they are on leca. I don't know who's made the app. I really should do some more research. I'll do a full review video in the future, and I'll maybe do that. But yeah, that is slightly more promising. The only thing that it is missing is it doesn't give you the option to say that it's under grow lights. And there is definitely a difference. There might not be if you live in a hotter country than I do, but for me, I've got plants in, what plant was it? My Pilea peperomoides used to live in a west-facing window that got sun all day in a warm room. Put it under the grow light for, if my stomach rumbling is being picked up on this, I'm so sorry, but I've not had my breakfast. It thrives under grow lights, and it's under the grow lights for maybe like 6 hours a day, not like a full 15 hours, a short amount of time, and it makes a hell of a difference. So I just wish that Planta would put an option for grow lights. The other thing you get with the paid app is a plant identifier. Now I love these because, a little bit like the watering, they are never ever going to be able to identify a plant from a photo accurately 100% of the time, especially if you are a terrible photographer like I am in a very dark house. But I thought I'd try it, and some of them it got that I didn't think it would get, and some of them, no, that's not true, it didn't get any of them that I didn't think it would get. So that's another issue. That the first issue I came with the Planta app is nothing to do with Planta, it's not their fault, is that I've got a lot of plants and it takes ages to get all the information in. This is fine, like, because the more information you give them, the better the app will be able to work. But it took ages. I had been putting it off. I thought it would take me like an hour on an evening, but I just wasn't kind of getting around to it. So last Monday, I blocked out in my like work day, get all the plants in Planta. I didn't even get started on the ones in this room. I literally just did the ones downstairs. I don't even have that many. So the first one I put in the plant identifier was Hoya Bella, which I thought it would get, because Hoya Bella, I thought, quite a common plant. No, I thought it was Hoya Crimson Queen, which I think is interesting because Hoya Crimson Queen and Hoya Bella don't look that alike for Hoya. You'd never mix them up if you knew vaguely what Hoya were. So it clearly knew it was a Hoya, and it just assumed that it was a Crimson Queen, probably because they're the most popular. I don't know how it works, but I just thought it was interesting that the leaves on a Hoya Bella look more like, I don't know, they don't look like a Hoya Crimson Queen. Chiflera it got, ZZ plant it got. What did it think was a ZZ plant? I've got a Tenantha lubsiana, and it thought that was a ZZ plant. I'll put a picture on the screen of what they look like. They don't look like a ZZ plant. It thought my Philodendron Golden Dragon was a Monstera Adansonii. Again, right family, but completely different looking. Thought a Syngonium mottled was a Pothos Enjoy. Good guess, good guess. I mean, it's clearly, I don't know what it's looking for. It's clearly not going on the shape of the leaves at all. I don't know what it's going on. Anthurium clarinervium, it thought was ivy. I kind of get that if you look at the kind of patterns on the leaves, but also, I mean, Anthurium clarinervium leaves like that big, and ivy leaves like that big. So yeah, it's not, again, it's not for beginners, because if you got, so I put the orchid that I bought, this beautiful one, and I put that in the plant identifier, and it thought it was a Peruvian lily, which is the cat-killing lily, not the peace lily, the one that, you know, like the cut flower stargazer lily, I think. No, it's not that, and you care for them in completely different, they're just different, they need different kennies. And if you were a beginner and you use that as like a reliable way to identify your plant, it's not accurate enough, I think, to be worth putting on there. If it's an app that's aimed at beginners, I think you may be better off having a load of pictures and saying, you know, does it have pick a leaf shape, like more one of those like choose your own adventure things than a camera app. I get they seem cooler, but they're not. But if they're not going to work very well, and it didn't work very well, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I've got 15 here. It got 5 of them right. Chiflera, I mean, they have, if you're going on leaf shape, which I don't think it does, A Chevallera has a pretty standard look, but even then it wasn't actually the first Chevallera that it gave me. It thought it was the tricolour one, which is interesting, but it's not. ZZ Plant it got, Golden Pothos it got, and it got a Haworthia and a Jade Plant. So I can see what's happening. I can't see what's happening. These are all plants that if you saw a list of plants you should get for a beginner, it knew what they were, but it doesn't know. It's basically pointing out that it's for beginners, but it's not worth it. It's not an app that I would recommend to a beginner. So it's a little bit, I mean, obviously, like from an app developer's point of view, everything about it would suggest it was for beginners, but it's not. At least I wouldn't recommend it until you've had, you know, about 6 months worth of experience, so you vaguely know what you do. Basically, so you know whether or not to water. You're not just watering because an app told you to. It got Philodendron Brazil. It didn't get. It said it was a heartleaf philodendron, which it is. But Philodendron Brazil was the second option, and I'm just interested to know why it wasn't the first one, because I made sure with that one that the leaves that were like very Brazilian were like front and centre in the camera. So I don't know why it didn't get that. Basically, don't use plant identifier to identify your plants. Identify them first and then have a look for a laugh. Now you should do it for a laugh because they have some really interesting names for plants that I've never heard before and never heard them used ever. I've watched a lot of plant YouTubers and I've never heard these as common names. I can't remember what the one it thinks. What's the Hoya one? It gave Hoya a really weird name. It called it wax plant, but it called it something else as well. I'll put it on the screen because obviously I'm filming on my phone and Planta's on my phone. I can't see. My iPad's downstairs. Can't bother to go and get it. Right. Anthurium clarinervium, it called a velvet cardboard anthurium. Velvet I get. Cardboard? Rhiphidophora decursiva, it called a singles plant. And Philodendron melanochrysum, it called a black gold philodendron. And Chenanthe lubetziana Bambaranta? I'm not quite sure where it's getting these names from. It's almost like they just ask one person, like, you know, someone's grandma, what do you call this? And she's like, this is what everyone calls it. No. Interesting. So having like just chat all over Planta, I actually quite enjoy it, purely because it tells me every day what I need to do. Sometimes I ignore it. So one of the issues I have with it, and this isn't Planta's fault, it's doing what you've asked it to do, but unless you sit and put all your plants in one day, you'll end up having to fertilise one plant every day, rather than, you know, on a Sunday fertilise more. But what you can do is ignore your phone until it's time to do plant care, and then it'll tell you which ones to look after. But due to the fact that it wants you to fertilise them seemingly every week and water them every other day, you'll just be watering them and fertilising them every week. So I am going to see the fertilising and the watering may turn out not to be that useful. However, Planta will also remind you to clean your plants, and I think that'll be quite useful for me to have somebody on my phone telling me to clean my plants, because nobody else is going to do it. So I may as well pay somebody $2.75 a month to tell me to clean my plants. I think that's actually quite a good deal. So I am quietly optimistic that it will be helpful. I'm not up to the stage of recommending it to people yet, because if you've got a lot of plants, it'll take you 5.5 years to get them all in. And the other thing it likes you to do is mist your plants. Now this is interesting. A lot of people mist because they want their plants to have a high humidity, which we know doesn't work unless you're if you're in a small room. It might. If you've got, probably in here I've misted all my plants, it would result in slightly higher humidity, but also I'd end up with like fungus all over their leaves and stuff because they'd have standing water. But my plan, so Planta though, So Planta does this thing where it seemingly sporadically asks you to mist your plants, like every 10 days or something. It's interesting, and not all plants. I'm interested to see a pattern. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna mist them, but I'm gonna mist them with a foliar spray, because one, I kind of want to see if they work. A lot of people swear by them, especially for growing vegetables and stuff, but I just thought I'd sort of go through stages of trying them and then just completely forgetting about it. So if I've got an app to remind me, I will actually be able to produce useful information as to whether or not foliar sprays do anything. Also, it's kind of fun. So yeah, and I also think Planta is good for not letting you forget about plants. There's some plants that I have that I just completely forgot about. One of them is the Untitled because it lives next to my boiler in my kitchen around a corner that I just never look at. So I actually moved that one. I'm trying to propagate it and it looks like shit at the moment. I'm quite worried. There are definitely issues with it, and it's never ever going to be perfect, because it can't be. It's trying to do something that it can't do. There are some things that I wish it would add. I wish it would add the grow light thing, and I also wish there was an option, I don't know how they would do this, to put in what soil you use. They do have, you do put what soil type you have, but there's only a few options, and if you could have one where you sort of had your own. I just put mine, because my potting mix is homemade, but I just put, I think, regular, like houseplant potting mix with extra drainage or something was an issue. And I don't know if there is an option to say whether your plant's in leca, but I don't know what they do with that information, because you don't say whether it's got a reservoir, whether you're using the shower method, and you don't say when they're being flushed. So I don't know whether that will work. I'm not saying that they don't have those options. I've just not found them yet. They weren't like immediately apparent to me. But then I also didn't realise that there was an option to delay watering, so we shall see. I do really hope that it works. As I say, I was like, no, this is shit, I'm not even, so I downloaded it with the idea to get the paid one so I could review it properly, but then I was like, no, this is shit, I'm just going to write an article saying it's shit. And then actually I was like, no, it has its place. Its place just isn't what it thinks it is. This is more of an organisational app than a plant care one. It's organising plant care, but it's not replacing knowledge. If you see what I mean. If you have no knowledge on plants, it won't help. It might even hinder. But if your issue is you've got a lot of plants and you can't keep track of them very well, it's good. One thing I wish it did have was an overview of all your plants, and it kind of does, but it's like a long scrolly thing. I wish it had like a little grid. I don't know what I want. On one page, maybe like loads of little photos, like get a grid of all the photos, and you can click on the ones that you want to look at. Show your friends or something, I don't know. So yeah, the watering thing is interesting, because I wouldn't mind it telling you when to water if it wasn't so aggressive. So I bought this, and I've put in how big it is, how big the pot is, and what substrate it's in. And I said that I watered it when I got it, because when plants come, they tend to be watered, and the soil is still damp to the touch, even like where it's exposed to the air. And I can feel that it's not waterlogged, but I can feel that it doesn't need watering. And they're like, yeah, water it today. And I'm like, I'm not even going to water this for like a week. So it's not, and when did I get it? Sunday? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Does it want me to water it every 4 days? There's also an option for, I don't know, because when you put the plant in, you say when it was last watered, and there's an option for I don't know. What does it do with that information? I would love to know. Planta, let me know. It's one of those apps there is a pigeon flapping around in the tree outside, and there is blossom like just cascading. You can't see it, but there's a lot of blossom. Can you see that? There's a lot of blossom on that tree. And the pigeon's just going crazy. Yeah, so I can totally see now. At first I was like, why does anybody use this? But now I can see why some people would find it really useful and some people wouldn't. But I also worry that there are people out there who have it for about a month, get a load of plants, get Planta, say, oh yeah, I love it, tells me what to do, and then are wondering why their plants are dying. So I do worry a little bit. I don't worry about it. But you know what I mean? I think what they've done with what they could do, you know, what they've done with what's possible is pretty good. I do quite like it, and it is cheap. But I just think they're a bit overzealous with the watering. I think that was about it. If anybody has any like tips, or I've completely misrepresented something on the app, please let me know. Because I do have a tendency to just like go in all guns blazing, make a decision and then just completely disregard stuff. But like the initial, I'll definitely keep using it. I don't think it's like useless. I think it's pretty good, but just, I've said a million times, for organisational purposes, not learning about plant care. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week. Bye.